Providing security for your clients when they submit information to your site is imperative when dealing with e-commerce. And this doesn't just relate to payments. If you're collecting personal information like full names, addresses, shipping addresses, and so on, you have to ensure that people with nefarious intent won't be able to access that information. For enterprise e-commerce solutions, there is something called PCI compliance. PCI stands for Payment Card Industry, and the compliance standard was put in place to ensure that online payments through credit cards are secure. To achieve full PCI compliance with WordPress is complicated, but it can be done. But even if you can't get full compliance, you can get pretty close by following some simple guidelines and setting up your site correctly. The first step in securing your site for e-commerce is to get an SSL certificate. SSL stands for Secure Socket Layer, and it basically provides encryption between the server and the browser. So when your customer enters their private information and it gets sent to the server, it travels across a secure line that's encrypted. So if anyone is snooping in on that communication, and trust me, that does happen, all they'll get is encrypted nonsense that they can't decipher. SSL certificates are sold on a yearly basis, and you have to pay a fee for them. And they can be expensive or they can be cheap. It depends on what you buy. And you have to keep them up to date. You've probably encountered SSL certificates when you're logging into social networks or buying things online. You'll see that in the address bar, it changes from HTTP to HTTPS, and you often see a little padlock on your address bar indicating that you're now on a secure site. The next thing you need to do is get a secure host, and preferably you want to get a virtual private server or a private server. When I say secure host, I mean a host that is known for securing WordPress sites. There are many, many hosts out there who do a great job. There are also many hosts who don't do a great job. But it's also important that you get a host that gives you a lot of space and doesn't let you share your site space with a lot of other people. That's why I'm saying preferably you want a virtual private server or a private server. Because if you are sharing space, meaning you are on a shared host, and someone else gets hacked, there's a high chance that you might get hacked too. So even though your site is secure, the server isn't secure and the hack distributes through the server. By being on a virtual private server or on a private server, you won't have this problem, but it comes at a price, and that price can be pretty high. So if you're not quite ready to invest in virtual private servers or a private server yet, make sure that the hosting provider you have has secure hosting and that they're always up to date. Later in the course, I'll give you a list of some hosting providers that are well known for providing good WordPress hosting, and you can check those out and compare them to other hosts. You also need to make sure you have a secure WordPress install. Out of the box, WordPress is pretty secure, but you can make it a lot more secure by configuring it in a proper way. To get all the information on that, I suggest you check out two sources. First, go check out WordPress 3 Developing Secure Sites right here in the lynda.com online training library, and then go download the free ebook called Locking Down WordPress from codepoet.com. Combined, these will give you a lot of information about how to make WordPress more secure and ensure that it's very, very hard to hack your WordPress site. In case you get hacked, or more likely if something goes wrong on your site or on the server, you want to have automated backup set up. There are hundreds of different ways you can do this. You can use free plugins or for pay plugins or services that do it, and sometimes the host will do it too. But I recommend you use a service that specializes in backups. A popular option is to use vaultpress.com. This is a service from Automattic, the company that manages WordPress.com, and they do specialized backup and security services for WordPress sites. It's a yearly cost, and depending on the size of your site and how much backup you want, it can cost a bit of money, but it's a worthwhile investment. On the topic of security, you may also want to invest in security monitoring for your site. This is kind of like having an alarm system with monitoring on your house. So someone is constantly monitoring your site to make sure nothing is happening that shouldn't be happening. There are many services that provide this. One of them is a company called Sucuri.net. They provide specialized services for monitoring WordPress sites, and they're pretty good. But again, it costs money. It is a worthwhile investment, and it's something you need to consider very carefully. Finally, update constantly. WordPress is evolving very quickly right now, And there's a new version of WordPress or a new update to WordPress coming out pretty much every 2 months. These updates usually include a lot of security updates and plugs of holes or other things that make it harder to get access to WordPress for people who shouldn't be getting access. The same goes for plugins. Plugins also update constantly. And if you want to secure your site, you have to make sure every time you see that update button on your site, make sure you click on it and keep up to date at all times. Investing in proper security when you set up your site is a bit like putting locks on your doors and installing an alarm system in your house. The difference, though, is that in the case of an e-commerce solution, the valuable asset in your house belongs to other people. They entrust you with their personal information, and it is your job to protect that information. Doing this upfront is quite simply a sound investment.